Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me again. If you don't know me, my name's Tyler Orr. I want to talk a little bit today about an assessment that we use in constructed awareness called the CAQ, which stands for the Constructed Awareness Questionnaire. And here I'll just show you what it looks like. It's a 10-question assessment. It's very simple. With each question, what you do is there's a place to score for mentally oriented, sensation oriented, and externally oriented. So you ask the client the question, and from their response, we learn in the training how to pick up on certain cues that let us know that the client's oriented more mentally, sensation, or externally. And then you can score 0 to 2 for each one. You have the 10 questions, and at the end, at the bottom here, you have a total for mentally oriented, sensation oriented, and externally oriented. So what you do is you go through and you add up the score from each column, and that gives you numbers here at the bottom that you can convert into a orientation type. And if you haven't seen the video on the constructed awareness typology, I recommend you check that out because that will make sense once you watch that. So whatever the score is at the bottom of the assessment allows you to understand what the client's orientation type is. So I thought for today, the simple thing we could do is just to demonstrate it. I have a close friend and colleague named Leah who volunteered to do a quick demo with me. And I want to just show you that. And at times I'll pause the video and come back to this one-on-one and explain a little bit about why I scored that question the way that I did. Like what were the clues that I was picking up on that she was showing more mental or sensation or external orientation in that moment. So I do want to say before we get into it that you may notice if you go to the Constructed Awareness website that this video isn't listed under the free materials, and this handout isn't available for free download because we spend an enormous amount of time in the training learning how to work with this. So I feel like if you're going to use that in your clinical practice, it would be best if you were trained in it. But I did want to just do this video today to show you a little bit about what it's like to work with it, maybe just to pique your interest. So let's go ahead and just get into it. This is Leah. We're going to go through the questionnaire together. I'll see you in just a second. So when you want something, how do you know you want it?
I think a lot about it. I may even ruminate a little bit about it. I do a lot of research.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so that one's really easy. She said she thinks about it. She ruminates about it. So everything she's saying here points to mental orientation. So I gave her the highest score possible for this, a 2 for mentally oriented, and didn't give her a score for anything for sensation or externally oriented. All right, so what do you do to feel safe and secure?
I think that I take care of myself, like doing things to make myself feel better. Mm-hmm. And then I think I take care of other people. So I'm looking at the other people around me too, to make sure that they are okay.
What kind of stuff do you do to take care of yourself?
It's a lot of like going and getting my nails done.
Okay.
I sneak off and have dinner by myself a lot. Read books, do stuff like that.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's a little trickier. It's harder to recognize exactly how she's oriented. And it's all subjective to you, the therapist. So I'm the therapist in this case. So what I put down was a score of 2 for externally oriented because most of what she was talking about involved her environment. She liked to go out to dinner. She liked to get her nails done. And she also said that she does focus on other people. So I gave her a 2 for external, but I went ahead and gave her a 1 for mentally oriented and a 1 for sensation oriented, just because I was picking up some vibes from mental and sensation, but it wasn't as strong. What are you most proud of or value the most?
My career. and just how I've grown in that.
Okay. So a lot of times when a client focuses on achievements, especially work related, I think that falls more into the category of mental orientation. So I went ahead and gave her just a score of 2 for that. Very good. What do you do to connect with other people or show them you care?
I'm interested in what they have to say. I'm spending time with them, just being with other people.
Okay. So with that response, everything's outward focused, very focused on what's happening externally. So I gave her a score of 2 for external orientation. Very good. What do you do to get what you want from other people or to convince them?
I'm super charming, and a smile, a laugh, all of that. I'm pretty persistent.
Okay. Now, this one's not as clear as some of the others, but what I've sensed from this was very much an internal focus. There's not much of an external focus in this response. So I went ahead and just gave her a score of 1 for mental orientation and a score of 1 for sensation orientation, because both of those are the internal focuses. Very good. What do you do when someone takes advantage of you or tries to cross a personal boundary?
I get pretty offended, and sometimes I cut them off, or sometimes I find myself like trying to explain this situation or trying to resolve it in some way.
Now, with this response, I noticed a mental focus and an external focus, but there seemed to be a little more mental, especially when she was talking about explaining, because communication using words, that falls under more of the category of mental. So what I did with this one is I gave her a score of 2 for mental and 1 for external. Is it easier to focus on your needs or the needs of others?
Others, all day.
All day. Super simple, focuses purely on the needs of others all day, she said, so gave her a 2 for external. Would you say you're someone who feels a lot, or do you often feel cut off from your feelings?
Gosh, I think that's changing with me. I'm kind of in the middle now, like feeling overwhelmed sometimes. And then when I feel so overwhelmed, I like totally just cut it off because I can't handle it.
How do you cut it off? What kinds of things?
Yeah, dissociation stuff like TikTok. That's like a very like a bad vice I have now. I just will scroll on something or.
Okay. Now, this response is a little more challenging to understand. We spend a lot of time in the level 1 training exploring how to score responses like this. There was a lot that she talked about. One particular thing was that there's sort of new learning, that she used to not feel much, now she does, and sometimes that can be hard for her, so she cuts off. So I had a follow-up question of how do you cut off, and she used primarily her mind, but also her external environment, and we'll talk in the training why we would score it that way, but how a lot of people, they'll use phones to dissociate. And so there's a lot of feeling that's happening. There's also a lot of cutting off that's happening. So for this particular response, I scored it as a 2 mentally oriented, 1 sensation oriented, and 1 externally oriented. All right. So when you're upset, what emotion do you usually feel, and how do you typically react?
I think like an overwhelming sadness. And I want to resolve it so bad. I want to not feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you try to resolve it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
What do you do to resolve it?
Depends on what it is. Sometimes that looks like making a new to-do list, like with tasks on how I can like make the problem reduce, or like if it's like with someone, trying to figure out like how I can connect with them so that we can get the misunderstanding cleared up.
So like the previous response, this one has a lot to it. There's a deep sadness that shows up. She regulates that by planning, going through her to-do list. So there's, with this one, some sensation orientation. There's also mental and external, a little bit of external. So for this one, I went ahead and scored 2 for mentally oriented, 2 for sensation oriented, and 1 for external oriented. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last one. What kinds of things do you find yourself thinking about the most?
Nowadays, it's how do I get more intentional, like with my schedule, and not be working so much, and how do I become a better mom? Those are the things that are on my mind now.
Focusing on your schedule and how to be a better mom.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, with this one, there's a lot of focus mentally. There's a lot of focus externally. I didn't sense any focus on like what her internal physical experience is. So I went ahead and gave her a 2 for mental, a 2 for external. Okay, so the way this works, I sort of got little bits of information from everything that you said, and I scored each question, I don't know if you can see it, for mental, sensation, or external, like we've talked about before. So what I'll do is I'll total up each column, and that'll give us a score down here at the bottom. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so the score is, in first place, you have mentally oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Second place, externally oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Third place, sensation oriented. So we get the M, the E, and the S from mental, external, sensation. And we have what's called the MES. Okay.
I'm a mess.
You're a mess at MES. So from that, we can guess that you're analytical, you're driven, kind of a real go-getter, I guess we could say. You kind of mentioned that you're good at like planning. I bet you're good at following through with the plans though, right?
Yes.
This is a type that has like a real like forward moving, mobilizing energy. So I put an element to each type. And for this one, I say it's fire.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this sort of burning drive, burning passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll go out on a limb and say that whenever you're at your best, that's probably like warming to those around you. But when you're at your worst, it can burn people.
Absolutely.
Right. Good. So with this type, some people tend to put a little more energy into achieving for others, other people achieving for self. You did say that you put the needs of others first. So I would guess that you probably focus your achieving more on helping other people.
Yes.
Achieving for others. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And I wonder that might not always be welcome.
No.
Sometimes you might help or achieve for people in ways that they might not want. I always think it's like the knight in shining armor that rescues the damsel, but he doesn't ask if that's what she wants.
Yeah, I didn't ask for consent. I just go in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good. So yeah, that would help us if we were working together. That would help us move forward because we know if you're strongest mentally and weakest in sensation and connecting with your body, and that would point us in that you would need more help with that.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so that's a pretty simple example of how to go through the questionnaire, and I talked a little bit there at the end about her type and what that type looks like in the world a lot, but I wanted to just show you real quick. I want to just pull this up on the screen to show you. This is the Constructed Awareness Orientation Types chart. I mentioned earlier in this video that I've previously made a video on this where I go into this in more detail. If you want to learn more about that, you're welcome to check out that video under the videos page at constructedawareness.com, or you can go to the free materials page and actually download this and begin to explore it further. But if you look at it now, we see here is MES, the achieving type, which is Leah's type. Her score ended up being 14 for mental, 12 for external, and 5 for sensation. So you see that we can place the letters in the order from the highest to lowest, and we get the MES. So when we look at this in regard to Leah, we can see that it completely fits for her, especially this category of when achieving for others: warm, charismatic, generous, loving, respected, admired, steady, reliable, and so on. This is her. So this is the longest video that I've made so far, but I feel like it just barely scratches the surface. This is just a very basic intro to demonstrate how to use the CAQ. If this has piqued your curiosity, maybe you're interested in it, I would advise that you pursue more training before you begin to use it in your practice. Like I said before, it's not available for download for this reason. So we're always doing trainings. You can check out constructedawareness.com to know when those are. Also, every month we do a free consultation session. So if you wanted to learn more about this and how to use it, you're welcome to show up, bring a case example, and we'll explore that. Or you can reach out. You can reach out to us at constructedawareness.com. So I'm here for you. If you have any questions, if you need any more information to move forward with this, just let me know. So until next time, take care.